Ethan proposed dinner over the phone, his voice steady despite the flutter in his chest. Liam's easy agreement sent a jolt of warmth through him, a sensation like warm honey spreading through his veins. At 29, a man shouldn't feel the giddy excitement of a teenager. Yet Ethan found himself checking his reflection, adjusting his collar. The clock had barely struck 5 when he left his downtown office, his car navigating the familiar 20-minute route toward the sprawling brick and ivy campus where Liam taught. For 10 years, their relationship had existed in this carefully defined space. From classmates to best friends. A line drawn in the sand that Ethan was too afraid to cross, yet yearned to erase. He was in love with his best friend. It had been that way since the first time he saw Liam, a certainty that settled deep in his bones. He was willing to orbit Liam's life forever, even if it meant remaining a secret, a satellite in the dark. This quiet devotion was a bittersweet addiction, a flavor known only to him. To want someone with every fiber of his being, to see their face and feel a greedy, desperate need to possess them. And to know that a single wrong move would send him plummeting off the cliff of their friendship into nothingness. He didn't fear rejection. He feared the loss of proximity, the cold silence where easy camaraderie used to be. He arrived, as always, ahead of schedule. He sat in an empty lecture hall, the tiered seats rising around him, making him feel like an interloper among the ghosts of students. A text from Liam illuminated his screen, suggesting a gastropub they both liked. Ethan replied instantly, adding that he was already on campus, downstairs from Liam's office. Liam's response was immediate, telling him to come on up. He had no classes. Stuffing the phone in his pocket, Ethan walked toward the faculty building. It housed a notoriously fickle elevator, the kind that made headlines in local news for trapping people between floors. He always took the stairs. The 6 flights felt like a necessary pilgrimage, each step building the anticipation. At the top, a polished plaque on the door read Professor Liam Maxwell. He took a moment to steady his breathing before knocking. A deep voice, a voice he'd heard thousands of times yet still sent a tremor through him, called for him to enter. Ethan pushed the door open, a casual greeting on his lips. Liam sat at his desk, the fading crimson light of the sunset catching the sharp line of his jaw. He was wearing a crisp Oxford shirt, the sleeves rolled up to his forearms, revealing strong, capable hands. Thin, black-framed glasses rested on his nose, lending him an air of intense, scholarly focus that Ethan found devastatingly attractive. Liam looked up from his work, a question in his eyes about his early arrival. Ethan offered a small lie, claiming he had finished his own work early. The truth was, he'd taken the day off, spending it in a state of restless waiting for this single evening. Liam gestured for him to sit, explaining he just needed to finish a few notes. Ethan nodded, feigning a casual interest in Liam's work as he walked over, his eyes drawn not to the paper but to the elegant movement of Liam's hand across the page. He fantasized about that hand, the thought both thrilling and shameful. After a few moments of pretending to care about academic paperwork, he retreated to the worn leather sofa, content to simply watch the man he loved. Time slipped by unnoticed until Liam finally set down his pen, stretching the stiffness from his neck. A quick glance at Ethan's phone revealed it was already past 6. Liam smiled, the corner of his mouth lifting in a way that made Ethan's face grow warm. He suggested they head out before the dinner rush. Liam grabbed a dark charcoal jacket from a hook by the door, shrugging it on as they walked out together. They stood before the elevator. Ethan hesitated, a nervous laugh escaping him as he mentioned his recent aversion to them. Just as Liam asked why, he pressed the call button. The doors slid open with a metallic sigh, revealing an empty, brightly lit car. A sudden, irrational fear coiled in Ethan's stomach, visions of mechanical failure and falling metal flashing through his mind. Liam stepped inside and looked back, waiting. Ethan forced himself to follow. As the doors closed, sealing them in the small space, his anxiety spiked. Liam pressed the button for the ground floor. He must have noticed Ethan's tension, because he reached out and clapped a hand on his shoulder, asking if he was all right. Ethan managed a tight smile, assuring him he was fine, but his eyes were glued to the descending numbers on the display. The elevator shuddered once, a violent jolt that threw them both off balance. Ethan's practiced calm shattered. He saw the look of alarm on Liam's face mirror his own. The numbers began to blur, dropping at an impossible speed. The sudden weightlessness was sickening. This was real. He reached for Liam instinctively, but Liam was faster, pulling Ethan into his arms, shielding him. Ethan looked up, seeing only the strong column of Liam's throat. In the final, terrifying seconds, a single, agonizing regret surfaced. There was one thing left undone. If he didn't do it now, he never would. Liam. Liam looked down, his eyes wide with fear, his arms a steel cage around Ethan's body. "I'm in love with you," Ethan confessed, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I've always been in love with you." A faint, bittersweet smile touched his lips as he watched shock bloom in Liam's eyes, the red glow of the rapidly descending numbers reflecting in them. 3, 2. Then, a deafening shriek of metal, a violent, final impact that sent a shockwave of panic through the entire building. A sharp jolt, and Ethan's eyes flew open. He was in his childhood bedroom. "Ethan, get up. We're taking you to campus after breakfast," his father's voice called from downstairs. The voice was familiar, but the context was impossible. He wasn't dead? The falling elevator, Liam holding him, was it all a dream? He scrambled out of bed, patting frantically under his pillow until his fingers closed around his phone. It wasn't his sleek, modern device. It was a thick, black plastic brick, an early-generation smartphone from his freshman year of college. The iconic slide-to-unlock screen glowed back at him. A horrifying, exhilarating thought bloomed in his mind. If this wasn't a dream, he fumbled with the device, his thumb shaking as he navigated to the calendar. The date displayed on the screen sent a shock through his system. The phone slipped from his grasp, clattering to the floor. What was that? His mother appeared in the doorway. Her eyes fell to the phone, and her expression soured. "Ethan, I swear, if you break that thing, I am not buying you a new one." He stared at her, at the face that was a decade younger, the lines around her eyes smoothed away. "Mom?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "What is it?" She snapped. You look so young." Her stern expression softened, the corners of her mouth twitching upward. "Stop with the nonsense. If you really hate that phone, you can swap with your dad's." She touched her own cheek, almost preening, and left the room with a lighter step. This was impossible. He remembered begging her for a new phone that entire summer to no avail. This had to be a dream. He jumped off the bed, his foot landing directly on the hard plastic of the phone. A sharp pain shot up his leg. He hopped around, clutching his foot, hissing in pain. His dad poked his head in, his brow furrowed with concern. After being assured he was okay, his father reminded him not to be late for the opening ceremony. "Dad," Ethan asked, his voice shaky, "how old am I?" His dad gave him a strange look. 19. "And you're acting like a child." He shook his head and left. 19. He was 19 again. He scrambled to the bathroom and stared into the mirror. A 19-year-old boy stared back, his face unlined, his short brown hair a messy mop on his forehead. He touched his own smooth cheek in disbelief. He wasn't dead. A dizzying, carbonated feeling bubbled up in his chest. He wasn't dead. A wild grin spread across his face, but it vanished as quickly as it came. Liam must be alive too. But then the second realization hit him like a physical blow. His confession. He had confessed his love to his best friend moments before their supposed death, and now they hadn't died. How was he supposed to face him? The smell of bacon and coffee filled the house. At the breakfast table, his mother lectured him about his chronic lateness, a familiar speech he hadn't heard in years. He and his father ate their pancakes in silence. After they loaded his luggage into the car, he was heading to the same university, the place where he had met the person who would define his life. He remembered it perfectly. Liam, the freshman representative, speaking at the opening ceremony. His calm, deep voice turning a boring speech into something magnetic. In that moment, watching the handsome boy in the white shirt on stage, Ethan, a 19-year-old with no romantic experience, had felt a shocking, undeniable stirring of attraction that made him question everything he thought he knew about himself. His later attempts to befriend Liam, to prove to himself it was a fluke, had only succeeded in cementing his fate. The September air was still thick with summer heat. As they drove onto the familiar campus, his palms grew slick with sweat. His mother noticed his agitation. He mumbled an excuse about the heat. They got him checked in, and he hurried them away, promising he was fine on his own. His mother, despite her usual sternness, looked reluctant to leave. She pressed a brand new, sleeker black phone into his hand. "Be careful with this one," she warned, before getting back in the car. He watched them drive away, a lump forming in his throat. He had lied to them. He had no intention of going to the opening ceremony. If Liam had also come back, their first meeting would be impossibly awkward. He decided to take a shower and figure out a plan. The dorm room was empty. His new roommates hadn't arrived yet. He grabbed his shower caddy and flip-flops and headed for the communal bathroom. The shower hall was vast, tiled, and empty. Everyone else was at the ceremony. He hummed to himself as he undressed, a giddy sense of relief washing over him. He was alive and 10 years younger. As he lathered shampoo in his hair, the sound of the water drowned out everything else. When he rinsed and opened his eyes, he wasn't alone. A grizzled, middle-aged man was staring at him disapprovingly. Ethan instinctively covered himself. It was the janitor, a man whose face he'd seen for 4 years. "Didn't you see the sign?" The janitor grumbled. "We're closed for cleaning." Ethan mumbled an apology, quickly rinsed off, and scurried out. Sure enough, a small chalkboard hung on the door, closed for maintenance. Towel slung over his shoulder, he was walking back to his dorm when a sweet voice called out from behind him. "Excuse me, could you help us out?" He turned to see a pretty girl with a warm smile. She explained she was with the student council, preparing for the opening ceremony, and they were short on guys to help move some boxes. Ethan agreed, figuring he could drop his things off first. She insisted he could just leave his caddy at their office and she'd bring him back. He found himself unable to refuse. The some boxes turned out to be 8 massive cartons, each one incredibly heavy. The girl, who introduced herself as Ava, laughed at his stunned expression and assured him he only needed to move 1 or 2. His pride stung, he stacked 2 boxes together and, with a grunt of effort that made his vision swim, lifted them. He followed her out of the building, sweat already soaking through his clean shirt. So much for his shower. The sun was relentless. By the time he reached the auditorium, his face was flushed and his shirt was plastered to his skin. Ava ran over, handing him a bottle of water with a grateful smile. He was too winded to speak, just nodding and gulping down the water. When he'd recovered, she asked what his major was. Upon hearing it was math, she glanced toward the packed seating. "I think your section is already full," she said. Before he could protest that he wasn't staying, she grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the front. "Don't worry, the student council has reserved seats up here." He found himself being led to a seat in the second row, less than 20 feet from the stage. He tried to refuse, but his arms felt like jelly from carrying the boxes. Just as Ava left, an announcement boomed over the speakers, instructing everyone to be seated as the ceremony was about to begin. He was trapped. One by one, faculty members gave their speeches. Ethan grew more and more tense, his hands clenched into fists in his lap. He knew what was coming next. Finally, the host announced the freshman representative. A wave of applause and excited whispers rippled through the auditorium. Ethan kept his head down, sweat dripping from his nose onto his hands. His body trembled uncontrollably. The memory of the elevator, of Liam's arms around him, of his last-second confession, flooded his mind. What a ridiculous final moment that would have been. He gave a bitter, silent laugh. Did Liam remember? Was he looking for him? Or did he never want to see him again? Respected faculty, teachers, and fellow students, the familiar voice, amplified through the speakers, struck him like a physical blow. A sharp, acidic feeling rose in his throat, and his eyes instantly filled with tears. He slowly lifted his head. There on the stage, bathed in the bright lights, was Liam. A crisp white shirt, dark hair, a tall and confident posture. The image superimposed itself over the memory of the man who had died in his arms. It was him. He was alive. They were both alive. Here, back at the beginning. In the second row, a sweaty, disheveled boy cried and laughed at the same time, tears and snot streaking his face. "Hey, are you all right?" A hand landed on his shoulder. He wiped his face with his sleeve and turned to see a middle-aged man with a receding hairline looking at him with concern. It was Professor Davis, his future academic advisor. "Professor Davis?" Ethan blurted out before he could stop himself. The professor looked surprised. "Do I know you?" Ethan backpedaled quickly. "Sorry, sir. I thought you were someone else." Professor Davis gave him a wry smile and was about to ask more when another voice cut in. "Professor." Both Ethan and the professor turned. Liam was standing there, smiling politely. Ethan's mind went blank. All he could see was him. "Ah, Liam," Professor Davis beamed, clearly proud of his star student. "Are you heading to the student council recruitment drive?" "Yes, sir," Liam replied. Then his eyes flickered to Ethan. "Is this student okay?" Ethan met his gaze, and for a heart-stopping second, the world fell away. He couldn't look away. Liam's eyes, however, held no recognition, just polite curiosity as he turned back to the professor. "Oh, this young man was crying. I was about to take him to the infirmary," Davis explained. "I can take him, sir." Ethan's heart hammered against his ribs. Before the professor could protest, Liam was at his side, taking his arm to help him up. The warmth of his skin sent an electric shiver through Ethan. "Let's go," Liam said, his voice low. Ethan walked beside him in a daze. 10 years ago, Liam didn't wear glasses. His face was slightly leaner, his jawline sharper. A faint golden down covered his cheeks, like a peach. The top button of his shirt was undone, revealing a hint of his collarbone. He smelled faintly of lemon and clean linen, a scent that made Ethan want to lean closer. "Are you done sniffing me?" Liam's voice, sharp and cool, broke the spell. He stopped and pushed Ethan away slightly. They were outside the auditorium now, alone. Liam pulled out his phone. "Your number." Ethan stared, confused. "Mine?" Liam nodded. "Text me when you get to the infirmary." His heart felt like it was going to burst from his chest. He took the phone, his hands trembling as he typed in his number and called his own silent device. "My phone's in my dorm. I'll text you when I get back," he stammered, his face flushed. "If Professor Davis asks," Liam said, his voice flat, "you'll tell him I stayed with you at the infirmary all afternoon. You know what to say, right?" He took his phone back and walked away without another word. Ethan stood frozen, watching him go. This was not the Liam he knew. This version was cold, calculating. And somehow Ethan found that he loved him even more. He didn't get a tender moment, but he had Liam's number. And Liam had his. He ran back to the student council office to retrieve his things, a goofy grin plastered on his face. When he arrived, Ava and a group of girls were laughing and eating snacks. Ava spotted him. "There you are. Did you just take off?" she teased. He made an excuse about a stomachache. She laughed, knowing it was a lie, and handed him his shower caddy. "Hey," she said, stopping him as he was about to leave. "Do you want to join the student council?" Before he could answer, one of the other girls called out, "Yeah, come join us. Handsome. We have tons of girls." Ethan remembered his first time in the student council. It was true there were many girls, which meant the few guys there were treated like free labor for every heavy lifting task. Another girl chimed in. "We have a recruitment meeting later, and our department's genius, Liam Maxwell, will be there." Ethan's eyes lit up. "Okay, I'll be there. I'll even bring my roommates." He grinned at Ava, whose cheeks reddened slightly, and then hurried back to his dorm. He burst into the room to find his 3 roommates had arrived. There was Derek, the tall, well-built leader of their group. Leo, the quiet, whip-smart one with glasses. And Sam, the social butterfly who knew all the campus gossip. Seeing their familiar faces, faces of the men who had been his steadfast friends for a decade, he was overcome with emotion and his eyes welled up. "Whoa, man, what's wrong?" Derek asked, alarmed. "Did you get harassed in the showers?" Sam chimed in. The tears receded. "Nah, just broke up with my girlfriend," he lied, the excuse already becoming second nature. They quickly bonded, sharing snacks and stories. Ethan told them about the student council and the recruitment meeting. Sam and Derek were in, but Leo, true to form, said he was only interested in studying. Ethan didn't mention his real reason for joining. He didn't tell them he'd sold them out as future manual laborers just for a chance to be near a boy named Liam. His phone buzzed. A missed call from an unknown number. He saved it immediately, his heart pounding. It was Liam's. He spent the next hour agonizing over what to text back, typing and deleting countless drafts. Had Liam really not remembered him? Or was he pretending not to because the confession had been too much? The uncertainty was excruciating. He finally sent a simple message. "Liam, I'm back in my dorm. Thanks for today. Are you free for dinner sometime? My treat." He waited and waited. No reply. The silence was deafening. The old Liam, no matter how annoyed, would have at least replied out of politeness. This silence felt like a deliberate rejection. "He's not texting back," he mumbled to Sam. "Dude, she's probably just playing it cool," Sam said, assuming he was talking about a girl. "If I were you, I'd just go find her. Force the issue." He was right. Ethan stood up. "Let's go." To the recruitment drive. The campus green was a chaotic mess of tents and club banners. After escaping the clutches of a wrestling club recruiter, Ethan finally found the student council booth, which was swarmed with people, almost all of them girls. He squeezed his way to the front and asked for Ava. She was in the back tent. He managed to grab an application form before making his way around to the back. And there he was. Liam, dressed in a simple gray t-shirt, was talking to Ava. Ethan called her name softly. Both of them turned. Liam's dark eyes met his expression unreadable, blank. It was a look that sent a chill through Ethan, a coldness that felt like a chasm opening between them. All the easy laughter and shared history of their past life felt like a fantasy. Maybe it was better that he hadn't confessed. No, maybe it was better if they had never taken that elevator. Ava came over asking where his roommates were. He explained they'd been poached by the basketball team. "Oh, well, let me introduce you," she said, gesturing back toward Liam. "This is Liam. You probably saw him at the ceremony." Ethan just nodded dumbly. He could only stare. Liam's face remained a polite, indifferent mask. "Have you filled out your form?" Ava asked. Ethan, his spirit suddenly crushed, shook his head. "I think I need to reconsider." But just as Ava was about to accept his answer, Liam spoke, his voice cool and even. "Give it to me when you're done." Both Ethan and Ava looked at him, surprised. Liam looked directly at Ethan. "You have my number, don't you?" Ava's eyes widened. "Wait, you two know each other?" Before either of them could answer, she was called away to the front of the booth. The tent was suddenly silent, occupied only by the two of them. The air was thick with unspoken things. The plastic tent trapped the afternoon heat, and a bead of sweat traced a path down Ethan's spine. "Have you eaten?" Liam asked suddenly. Ethan shook his head. "Let's go," Liam said, walking toward him. "Where?" Ethan asked, instinctively stepping back. Liam stopped in front of him, a slight frown on his face. "Didn't you want to buy me dinner?" They went to the same gastropub. It was off-peak hours, so the place was quiet. If the accident had never happened, this is where they would be right now. The thought sent a pang of grief through him. As Liam studied the menu, Ethan couldn't help but stare, his eyes growing misty. "What do you want?" Liam asked, looking up. "Fries, onion rings, and sliders," Ethan said automatically. They both froze. Sliders were Ethan's favorite, something Liam always teased him for ordering but never ate himself. It had been their private joke, a small ritual in their decade-long friendship. But Liam's face showed no reaction. He simply marked the items on the order pad. It was then that Ethan knew with a painful certainty. He was the only one who had come back. Liam had no memory of their shared life or their shared death. The meal was quiet. When the bill came, Liam looked at the barely touched sliders, then at Ethan. "You don't like sliders?" "Not today," Ethan mumbled, his appetite gone. As they were leaving, Liam turned to him. "Why do you want to join the student council?" The question caught him off guard. The answer was the same then as it was now. "For you. It was always for you." I don't know, he said, his voice weak. "Well, think about it," Liam said, his tone final. "Call me when you have an answer." He stood up. "I have to go." Ethan watched him leave, a wave of despair washing over him. But then, a different thought broke through the gloom. If Liam didn't remember, then this was a clean slate, a second chance. He had a 10-year head start. He could do this right. A grin spread across his face. He called the waiter over to pay, only to be told that the other gentleman had already settled the bill. Back in the dorm, Sam interpreted Liam paying as a good sign. "She pays, so you have an excuse to ask her out again to pay her back." It's a classic move. Buoyed by this flawed but hopeful logic, Ethan filled out the student council application. That evening, he stood in the empty hallway, phone pressed to his ear, his own heartbeat echoing around him. "Hello?" Liam's voice was smooth through the speaker. "Liam? It's Ethan." He explained that he'd filled out the form and asked when he could give it to him, tacking on another offer of dinner to repay him. The silence on the other end stretched for an eternity. "Interview tomorrow night." At the student council office, Liam finally said, "And dinner?" Ethan pressed, his hope dwindling. "No need." The line went dead. That night, the 4 roommates of room 419 drank cheap beer smuggled into the dorm. Even Leo joined them. 10 years, Ethan slurred, clutching Sam's shoulder. "I've loved him for 10 years. He's my brother," he wailed, "but I want to sleep with him." The next morning, Ethan lay in bed, hungover and miserable. His grand plan, his second chance, had crashed and burned before it even started. He stayed there all day, wallowing. It was nearly 7 in the evening when Sam reminded him about the interview. He looked at himself. He smelled of stale beer, his hair was a mess, and his clothes were wrinkled from the day before. But a stubborn thought ignited in his exhausted mind. He had died once. What did he have to lose? If Liam wasn't with someone else, he still had a chance. He wouldn't be the coward he was in his first life. He jumped out of bed and ran. He arrived at the student council office, sweaty and out of breath. Ava was just leaving. She looked surprised to see him, explaining that the interviews were already over. Seeing his crestfallen face, she smiled. "Well, let's see how you can convince me to make an exception." After a moment of his awkward silence, she sighed, calling him a dummy, and told him about a welcome party the next evening, instructing him not to be late. She handed him a slip of paper with her number on it and hurried off. He glanced inside the office. It was empty. Liam was gone. As Ethan turned to leave, the lights in the entire building flickered and died, plunging him into absolute darkness. Panic seized him. He yelled out, but only silence answered. He was alone on the second floor. He remembered the layout. Down the stairs, a short run to the right, and he'd be at the main entrance. He took a deep breath and sprinted toward the faint green glow of the emergency exit sign. He reached the top of the stairs, his eyes struggling to adjust. A noise behind him made the hair on his arms stand up. He spun around to see a dark figure emerge from the shadows. He yelled and threw a punch, but his fist was caught in a warm, strong hand. He was pulled forward, crashing into a hard chest. He struggled, but his arms were pinned above his head, his back pressed against the wall. A hand closed around his throat, not choking, but holding him still. He tried to scream for help, but before the sound could escape, a mouth covered his. A wet, insistent tongue pushed past his lips, exploring his mouth with a shocking intimacy. He was dizzy, overwhelmed. The scent was familiar, lemon and clean linen. In the struggle, he felt the lean, powerful body pressed against his. The kiss was deep, invasive, and to his horror and shame, he felt himself responding. Suddenly, he heard footsteps and a janitor's voice calling out in the distance. The grip on him loosened. When he looked up, the figure was gone, vanished into the darkness. The janitor found him, explaining that a circuit breaker had tripped. Ethan stumbled out of the building, his legs shaking. Back in his dorm, he splashed his face with cold water, his lips tingling. He told Leo a mosquito had bitten him on the mouth. Leo, the bookworm, actually believed him. Later that night, alone in the washroom, he stared at his reflection, his mind racing. The attacker, the scent, the strength. It had to be the same person. But who? His mind kept circling back to one impossible conclusion. He brushed his teeth, his thoughts a chaotic mess. As he was leaving, he ran into Liam. "You live in this building?" Ethan asked, surprised. The philosophy students were supposed to be in a different dorm. "I've always lived here," Liam replied, his voice neutral as he washed his face. When he straightened up, his eyes were dark and wet, his face illuminated by the harsh fluorescent light. As he turned to leave, Ethan called his name. "Liam." Liam stopped and looked back at him. An insane, reckless idea took root in Ethan's mind, born from the shock of the assault and his decade of repressed longing. Have you ever kissed anyone?" Ethan asked, his face burning. Liam's expression shifted, becoming guarded. "I was wondering if you could teach me." The words hung in the air, audacious and desperate. Liam's eyes darkened. He walked slowly back toward Ethan, closing the distance between them until he was towering over him. "Teach you?" Liam's voice was a low murmur. He was so close Ethan could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "Ethan," he said, and the sound of his name, the first time since he'd come back, made Ethan's breath catch. "Do you know what that's called when you ask someone for something like that?" "What?" Ethan whispered, lost in his dark eyes. "Sexual harassment." The words were like a slap. The fantasy shattered. Just then, Sam burst into the washroom, sweaty from basketball practice. "Ethan, how'd it go with that student council girl? Did you seal the deal?" Ethan watched in horror as a cold, mocking smile touched Liam's lips before he turned and walked out without a word. The next day passed in a haze of misery. That afternoon, he met Ava for their promised lunch, his apology for the party. He chose the gastropub, a place now tainted with memories. He arrived first. A few minutes later, Ava walked in, but she wasn't alone. She was talking to someone just behind her, Liam. And Liam was not alone either. A beautiful girl with long, dark hair was holding his arm. His heart plummeted. They all ended up at the same table, a nightmare of forced pleasantries. The girl, Chloe, was introduced as Liam's neighbor since childhood. Perfect match. Throughout the meal, Ethan watched as Liam attended to Chloe, a quiet intimacy between them that twisted a knife in his gut. When Ethan clumsily tried to pour tea for Ava, he spilled hot water on his hand, biting back a cry of pain. No one seemed to notice. That evening was the student council welcome party. Ethan went, hoping to give Ava back her umbrella and disappear. The room was dark, filled with flashing lights and loud music. He spotted Ava backstage and squeezed through the crowd to reach her. "I thought you were leaving," she said, a little disappointed. "I wanted to return this," he said, holding out the umbrella. "Could you stay until the end?" she asked, her voice soft. "There's a game. I was hoping we could be partners." He knew what kind of game she meant. Before he could formulate a gentle rejection, she was called away, telling him to wait for her. He sighed, trapped. He turned to leave the backstage area and a hand grabbed his arm, pulling him back into the deepest shadows. It was him, the same scent of lemon, the same overwhelming strength. He struggled, but the loud music drowned out his shouts. He was pushed against a pile of soft stage curtains. "What do you want from me?" he snarled, his fear mixed with fury. The figure didn't answer. Instead, he leaned in, his breath ghosting over Ethan's lips. Then he moved lower, his mouth finding the sensitive skin of Ethan's neck, his teeth gently tugging at the collar of his shirt. A button came undone. Despite his terror, Ethan's body betrayed him, a helpless shudder running through him. "I'm already in love with someone," he pleaded, a last, desperate attempt. "Please, just let me go." The mouth on his skin stopped. A hand tightened on his arm. Just then, the music cut out. The president's voice came over the microphone, announcing the partner game. The hand on his arm squeezed tighter, a silent command. "Don't go." A voice whispered in his ear, low and distorted, yet terrifyingly familiar. The man's lips moved from his neck, pressing a soft, lingering kiss onto the back of his right hand, directly over the spot where he had burned himself at lunch. Everything clicked into place. The blank stares, the coldness, the calculated moves, the secret violence in the dark. It was all a lie, a cruel, elaborate game. The world outside the shadows erupted in cheers. But in the darkness, Ethan's world had shrunk to a single, horrifying point of clarity. He knew